Every year, millions of people travel to Egypt. Some come for the pyramids. Others come for the history. But many leave fascinated by something much harder to explain. Because Egypt isn't simply a country with an ancient past. It's one of the few places on Earth where more than 5,000 years of history still feel surprisingly alive. A place where modern cities stand beside monuments older than entire civilizations. Where a river transformed a desert into one of humanity's greatest success stories. And where new discoveries continue to emerge from beneath the sand. So what is it about Egypt that continues to captivate the world? To answer that, we have to start with the force that made everything possible: a river. Stretching more than 6,600 kilometers, the Nile is one of the longest rivers on Earth. For thousands of years, it has been Egypt's lifeline. Without it, much of the country would be dominated by desert. But every year the Nile flooded its banks, leaving behind rich black soil that transformed the surrounding land. Ancient Egyptians even called this fertile region the Black Land. In a landscape where survival was often difficult, the Nile created opportunity. Entire cities grew along the river. Kingdoms rose. Wealth accumulated. Knowledge expanded. The Nile didn't simply support Egypt. It helped create it. But fertile land and abundant water alone don't explain why Egypt became legendary. For that, we need to look toward the desert. Toward structures that continue to amaze the world thousands of years after they were built. Few structures on Earth are as instantly recognizable as the pyramids. For centuries, they have stood on the edge of the desert, watching empires rise and disappear. The most famous of them all, the Great Pyramid of Giza, was once covered in smooth white limestone that reflected sunlight across the landscape. When it was completed, it became the tallest human-made structure on Earth. And it would hold that title for nearly 4,000 years. Think about that for a moment. How were millions of stone blocks transported and assembled with such remarkable precision? How did ancient builders achieve something that still impresses engineers today? The answers continue to be debated. And perhaps that's part of the reason Egypt remains so fascinating. The more we learn, the more we realize how much there is still to understand. But surprisingly, the pyramids are not the only reason people fall in love with Egypt. To understand that, we need to leave the desert behind and step into the heart of modern Egyptian life. When people imagine Egypt, they often picture ancient monuments surrounded by sand. What they don't always picture is Cairo. Nowhere is Egypt's contrast between past and present more visible than in its capital. Home to more than 20 million people, Cairo is one of the largest cities in the world. Busy highways weave through the city. Markets overflow with activity. Street vendors serve food to crowds moving through neighborhoods filled with centuries of history. Every corner seems to tell a different story. Ancient mosques stand beside modern buildings. Traditional marketplaces continue operating in a rapidly changing world. And daily life unfolds against a backdrop unlike almost anywhere else on Earth. For many visitors, these moments become just as memorable as the famous landmarks. Egypt isn't frozen in the past. It's alive, growing, changing, evolving. And perhaps that's what makes it feel so different. History isn't separated from everyday life, it exists alongside it. These monuments witnessed civilizations rise and fall. They witnessed the birth of empires, the expansion of trade routes, the development of entire societies, and somehow they remain. Egypt has a way of making people feel connected to something much larger than themselves. And that feeling stays with them long after they leave. In Egypt, history isn't hidden behind glass. It isn't locked away in books. It's part of the landscape, part of the cities, part of everyday life. And perhaps that's why, thousands of years later, the world is still drawn to this remarkable place. Because Egypt isn't simply a story about the past. It's a story that continues today. And that's what makes it unforgettable.